Welcome to the Lessons from Your Hairstylist podcast, where we uncover and leverage your unique beauty and personal style. I'm your host, Sarah Cruz, a beauty industry educator and hairstylist with 30 years experience. This show is dedicated to providing you with insights and practical advice for living a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled life. Experience that special stylist-client bond right here as we dive into conversations with experts in beauty and wellness. Here, you'll gain valuable tips on personal style and self-care to empower your journey. Join me to unlock the secrets to living beautifully well while elevating your lifestyle, mind, body, and spirit. Your appointment is now, so have a seat and get ready for transformation. Well, hello and welcome to the Lessons from Your Hairstylist podcast. I'm your host and hairstylist friend, Sarah Cruz. Today, we are talking about transformation, and we always talk about transformation on this podcast. That's what this is all about. But it's hard to make changes or transform your life when you're dealing with a health crisis. And I recently was able to meet with Neal Wilkes, who's here with us today, along with his wife, Tara, and was able to hear the most overwhelmingly inspiring and motivating story. It just kind of came about when my husband and I were meeting with Neal to look at some lake lots, and he was showing us around, and he just incidentally said, "Oh, you know, my wife and I, we've been married for so long," and we were talking about how long we had been married, and then he had said, yes, and then my wife, she had this health scare, and he said, well, it was actually more than a health scare. So then he went in to tell us all about this story and how it unfolded and how absolutely miraculous Tara's recovery from cancer has been. And I thought to myself, I really want to bring this onto the podcast if they would be willing, because I think this is something that can offer hope and inspiration to anyone out there who may be dealing with a very serious health crisis, who may have been told that your chances are not very good, or you're dealing with somebody that you love who is going through something super serious. I'm going to let Tara and Neal tell the story, but essentially, Tara was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And you can see that she is well today, and she is looking as beautiful as ever right here with her husband, Neal. But I don't want to tell too much because I want them to really let this story unfold for us. So Tara and Neal, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I can't tell you how much this means to me and how much I appreciate you giving your time to talk to us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having us.
I'd like to start where Neal started with us in the beginning when he just started to tell us this story. Tara, do you mind telling us the beginning part of this? Like, how did this all begin and what happened? Tell us the story.
I just started feeling not like myself, really tired. I was working in furniture sales and decor in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was to the point that I almost felt like by 1 o'clock, oh, I hope I don't have another customer coming in. Something's not right. I did go to the doctors, but because of my weight and my eating habits, and it was like they just could not find anything wrong with me. I had pain in my right upper shoulder. Every now and then I had pain in the center, my front chest. Not a lot. And just the tired feeling. And it just got to the point where I decided to, after going to two different doctors, and it was, oh, well, you don't smoke, you're not a drinker, you you're doing everything, you're not overweight. And two, with my job, I thought in my mind I had pulled my rotator cuff. That's what it felt like. I had pulled something. And so I had a home in Richmond County, and we came back to this home, and I went to the doctor here, same thing. So
you'd been feeling like this for how long?
Really tired. Would you say a year?
Yeah, at least a year.
year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Oh, wow. So you had not felt yourself. You'd felt tired.
just tired. And I was
Mm.
going shopping with a friend when I moved back here. She kept calling and asking me to go shopping with her in Pinehurst. And every time I would put her off, well, we'll go another time. And so that day I decided to go, and we got in her car and she looked at me and she noticed right away that I was jaundiced. We ended up in the Moore County and a doctor there, well, they were going to take my gallbladder out. They said it was my gallbladder.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was in the procedure of I thought I was going to have my gallbladder taken out, he found the cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell.
Yeah, he saw a shadow, and the doctor actually called me on the phone and said, "Hey, do I have your permission to do some further exploration?" And I said, "Sure." And he did. He came in the room after the procedure and told us the news, or told me the news. And my reaction, I almost passed out. But anyway,
Oh,
yeah. And Tara was kind of foggy from the procedure as far as having the test done. But anyway, we saw a doctor the next day, an oncologist, and he said, you've got the cancer, and we can send you to Charlotte, Chapel Hill, or Duke. And I asked which one he'd send his wife to. And he said, "Well, I really can't tell you, but I am a Duke fan." So yeah, we got an appointment, went up there, and she saw a radiologist, surgeon, and oncologist. So the oncologist says we'll start you with some chemo. We're gonna get you on the best treatment we have. And this was 9 years ago, and the surgeon said, "Well, we'll operate, and hopefully, the chemo and radiation shrinks your." It was the tumor. The tumor was laying on the portal vein next to it, and they didn't think they could resect it. But then the radiologist says, "Well, if you're able to take the radiation and that goes well and shrinks it, then we'll do the surgery." But the surgeon, what hit Tara the most, well, myself too later, but they said, if you're able to do
I didn't hear him.
No, I didn't hear him at first, but he said, if you're able to do 5.5 weeks of chemo and radiation every day, and then have this 10-hour Whipple procedure, and then more chemo afterwards, your life expectancy is around 12 to 18 months based on, yeah, the statistics for pancreatic cancer. So, we're on the way home, and it's like Tara said, well, why bother? I said, we're going to bother, right? So anyway, we went back every day, 5.5 weeks to Duke. It's about an hour, 100 miles away actually. And she had the radiology, and the radiologist gave a little bit of hope that day, though, just to back up a little bit. And he said, I've had a few patients that did make it through it, so he gave a glimmer of hope there.
He said to me, I just like I'm just not. We're going home, and I'm not going to bother with this.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, why would you not? And I said, well, why would I? And he said, well, I've had patients come back for 10 years. How do you know you're not going to be the one?
Mm-hmm.
so he did tell you at that time that
Well, he wasn't necessarily saying pancreatic cancer, but he was just saying cancer. He has patients that come back. And why would you not do it? How do you know you're not going to be the one?
So
yeah.
we quickly decided that that's what we would do. It. We had a lot of friends, family, really a lot of help because I still work, during the day, and had a lot of friends to help transport her up there. And she was a trooper. She went through all the radiation. The chemo was a pill. She took that at home every day, and she didn't lose. She lost a little bit of her hair, but her hair was still intact, and it's just unreal.
And
That is incredible.
Neil can tell this better than I can because I don't know how people could do this without a support system because it's just like I was in a fog. I mean, I can't imagine someone not having a support system and having to think about paying bills, doing this, doing, every day because your life just stops. Well,
Yes.
I had a large support system.
And that's everything too. I agree with you is if you don't have some people around you to support you and hold you up. I'm not sure how you could make it through that, but you are so strong to have been able to even go through all of that. I mean, the Whipple procedure alone, from what I hear, is just, it's no joke.
Right.
And then with the treatment and having a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer, how does that weigh on you mentally? How are you going day to day thinking, okay, I'm gonna try my hardest again today. I'm gonna face this treatment again today. I'm gonna face another day when it could seem to be such a grim diagnosis. How did you what came up for you mentally, and how did you have that resolve to keep going? Because I think so many people would want to just give up because it could seem hopeless.
I think largely you don't think about it. You try not to think about it, and it's a hard thing not to think about, but you do that. And one of the things that the doctors told me, whatever you do, don't go on the internet and start reading other people's situations and all, because everyone is different. And
Yes.
stay away from that. But it was almost ironic. I mean, I had a lot of time. I didn't watch a lot of TV, but I had a lot of time to sit in front of the TV, and you tried to find something where it was, you start watching murder mysteries, and all of a sudden, every time you turn around, someone's dying with pancreatic cancer on this show. Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yes. Yeah. So you kind of can't get away from it,
Yes.
I would think.
Yeah.
Because we're bombarded with media,
Yeah.
TV, social media, anywhere you look, there's evidence that, the situation is not good. What do you feel like were some of your biggest challenges during your treatment period of getting through this?
Food. I knew I had to eat. It was hard. I did not, if I did have an appetite, as soon as I started eating, nothing had any taste. Nothing. And I think it was from the radiation, the surgery, the medications that you had to take for the pain. And so water, I drank lots of water, and I would get up, and I was in pain, but I would walk the length. We've got a long house, and I would walk the length of the house, and our living room, dining room is kind of open, but there's this little one wall in between, and I'd walk in circles. I would walk.
You just kept moving, trying to get nutrition. Yeah.
And I got up every morning, and I made, well, at first I had someone making them for me. I would make smoothies with fresh fruits, and I would put yogurt in it, juices, and I would nurse it like all day long, maybe 4 hours but every day I made myself do it.
Yes. And that's what something you would think would be a small actionable step, but something small like that could be a huge part of your routine, a stepping stone in your day. I imagine it would be something that would be almost like a benchmark to keep you going on to like the next thing, and knowing that you're feeding yourself, getting that nutrition. Did that feel like a form of self-care in any way, that you were pushing yourself to move, to get your smoothie in, to do these things, the little things that you could do?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
But I had friends too that would come by here, and you would think that you would want something. Nothing tasted like you thought it was going to taste. And if I said, "Oh, I like chicken salad," well, I had girlfriends bring me chicken salad. Boy, did they! My refrigerator was full of chicken salad, and I would eat 2 bites of it. And then the same friend, she would come over and stop by somewhere and get me breakfast, and sit there and cut it up, eat 2 bites, eat 1 more bite. She was putting it in my mouth.
That's a friend.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but there were several of them, and then they would both get down on the knees on the floor and pray for me. So, and Neil,
Yep.
Neil, let's not forget how Neil did. Wash clothes,
Yeah.
clean the house.
Held it together.
Everything.
Tried to.
Oh, Those things too. You need help with the everyday things as well.
Uh-huh.
How long were you in that period of time? How long was your treatment for pancreatic cancer?
A year?
Well,
uh,
she had the 5.5 weeks of chemo and radiation prior to, and then around well, exactly this day on this day 9 years ago, she had the Whipple procedure, and
That's right. We talked about that
yeah,
before the beginning of the episode. You
yeah,
said today marks the 9
yeah,
year anniversary of the Whipple procedure surgery that she had, and
yeah.
that is absolutely incredible.
And they let she stayed in the hospital 10 days, and then she came home. And a friend of hers is a nurse, and actually, this was really hard for me, but I had to go away to New Jersey for work. I started a new job with Campbell's. I was there anyway, but anyway, I had to go away for a few days, and this friend stayed with her, night and day, and
Took her week's vacation
yeah,
and stayed with me.
and yeah. So
Wow.
the doctor, they let her heal from the surgery, and probably within 3 months later, they started more chemo. Now this was intravenous, biweekly for 3 months at Duke, and then that was it with the treatment. And so they consider her and still do healed as of October. That's after all the treatment's over. So this October they'll count it a full nine years. And
9 years.
yes, so every
It's unheard of.
it is, and her oncologist would see her. She'd go for scans and blood work every quarter for the first probably 3 years. And so this was, taxing to go do all that, 'cause it takes a toll on her to have the scans and, contrast and all that. But her oncologist is awesome. We go in, we do blood work, we do the test, the scan, and then she sees the oncologist, all within a 3 to 4 hour period. And first thing she does, walk in the room, says, "Everything's great." And then she starts talking.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah,
good. That's so important to
yeah,
understand what's going on with someone mentally and emotionally. I imagine there's a lot of anxiety around those
yeah.
checkups. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe how you mentally prepared yourself to go in for those checkups every time? Because I would think that that would be anxiety producing.
That is, especially the week before. You just you try not to think about it, what they're looking for, but you know what they're looking for. And
After about the first 3 years, I guess, they put her on like every 6 months. And then, so I wouldn't even remind her when the appointment was. I kept up with it. And you know, Sunday before her coming up treatment, I would mention it in church, put her on the prayer list and
I didn't want to
upcoming.
know. I didn't want to know.
Yeah,
I can understand that.
yeah, yeah. But it's taxing all the way up there. It's like a 2.5 hour drive, and you're thinking about it. What's the doctor going to say? And I mean, I know it's on her mind. And um,
What are those conversations like in the car? That 2.5 hours, you're headed there. I mean, how do you do you amp yourself somehow, or do you
We get in the
what
car,
do you do?
we hold hands, Neil has a prayer, and we just proceed forward.
mhm. It's kind of a quiet ride. She's on her phone looking at something, or about 10 miles. She had a port put in her chest for easy to do all the dye and everything, and for the treatment. But with about 10, 15 miles before you get to Duke, you'd have to put a cream on to numb that area. So it's always on our minds going to, and
Hmm.
and especially after, just waiting on the oncologist. So the trick to that for us was we do a Friday appointment. We would always do them really early. I mean, we'd get up really early to go.
5 o'clock.
Yeah, like 5 in the morning.
4:30 in the morning.
And the earlier you go, the earlier you get your test results, and they don't get behind. So that was,
Right.
yeah, that was a help there for us.
Yes. You start to learn the ropes, I imagine, a little
Yeah,
bit when you go through something like this.
yeah,
Yeah, getting those little details down to make the process just maybe a little bit more manageable,
yeah,
learning how to maximize and make things more effective. I'm sure you became very experienced at all of that.
yeah. And we've So after 5 years, her oncologist, Dr. Matu, says, "Well, we don't know what to do. I've never had a patient to last 5 years."
And she cried.
Yeah,
Which I'm glad they didn't tell you that on the front end, but
She
yeah,
came in
that's
crying.
something that I think, isn't that something that, I mean, when you think of pancreatic cancer, this is why this is such a miraculous story.
hmm
I I don't know anybody that doesn't just think, well, that's it. You
right,
know, I mean, I think we could say that now looking back, you know, you're 9 years out. I
yeah,
would never say that when you were in the first stages of that. But I mean, isn't this what's in people's
hmm
minds?
I actually had a friend that was diagnosed, a wonderful woman. She was several years older than I was, but someone I just really thought so much of. Um, just a wonderful lady. And she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer probably 6 months before I was.
right,
And I remember when they took me back at Moore County and they were going to do my gallbladder surgery, and how I was so afraid to have the surgery, just having surgery. And I was thinking in my mind how selfish I am to be, and thinking about my friend Vicky and what she has been diagnosed with, and I'm having my gallbladder out. How selfish.
hmm
And then I was told, well, you have pancreatic cancer.
hmm
Well, Vicky did not. We had the same doctors, and she died maybe prior to my treatment.
hmm
After my surgery. It was after I had the surgery.
yeah,
What is that like? I mean, I can't imagine what that's even.
And she's sending me cards all the time. She was sending me cards. She could not have the surgery. Hers was too far advanced, and they could not do the surgery on her. But every week I would get a card from Vicky.
That is
That
incredible.
was really hard.
so,
Must be so hard when you watch somebody who has essentially the same thing that you have. Where are you in your head when she, you know, once she's gone? What do you, how do you even find the mental strength or fortitude to make that shift into survival mode
Yeah,
when,
and you almost have a guilt. You almost have a guilt around her family, and
yeah, we know her
that
husband.
we know her family
Yeah,
so well. It was just really hard.
it's strange
yeah,
talking to him, and after he lost his wife, and she went to the same, oncologist and same facility, and you just feel strange, like, thank God I've got her. Thank God Tara's alive. But wow, just feel sorry for him. And he told me
yeah,
once, he said, just remember crying in the shower, not around her.
yeah, yeah. Tara, I know you said you'd had symptoms for maybe a year. Did they think that it had developed and you had the pancreatic cancer for that year that you were dealing with that, or what do
Never
they think the
say.
symptoms were from?
They never say for sure, but they're pretty sure that she's had it going on for a
Yeah,
while. That's the
yeah,
bad thing about pancreatic cancer. There's no early detection, and if
yes,
it had not been
yes.
for that, the guy was just doing the check on her gallbladder and just taking the extra step to go forward, and he saw that shadow, and he said, "Well, I'll investigate a little further." She wouldn't have found it then, to be honest. Yeah,
That's a miracle
yeah,
too,
it
just
is.
in and
Well,
of itself.
Mm-hmm.
my friend that's the nurse that took her vacation and took care of me, she actually worked for him. And she said, when she found out, she said, you got the best one. Because I'm going to tell you something about him. He's not going to just be settled with, you've got this problem. He's going to be wanting to know, why do you have this problem? He's just that doctor
Mm-hmm.
that,
He's gonna dig in.
that
That's what you
you
want.
knew that about him. She said,
Mhm.
you really, when you got him, and he did.
You were lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very thankful for that as well. What is one thing that you learned in this whole process? What was like your main discovery through this whole thing?
How short life is, and take advantage of, spend more time doing things that you enjoy doing. And
Yes. What are some things that have changed since pre-diagnosed Tara to post-diagnosed, now cured Tara? What are the differences between The old Tara, I guess, and the new Tara.
What would you say?
You're retired now.
Yeah, I did not go back to my job. I spend more time cooking, and I'd worked Saturdays with my job. It was anytime you're in sales, you're going to work those Saturdays. The birthday parties and things I missed, and thankful for Neil.
But she was able to work. Her doctor said, if you want to work, work. And she also said, I can help you with disability if you want to go that route because of what you've gone through. And Tara's like, no, I can work, so I'm not going that route. But it's worked out great, though. I mean,
I just
I like
almost felt like if God had healed me, that would be kind of wrong for me to do that. I mean,
yeah.
because
I see
I
that.
could work.
Yeah.
I do things like refinishing furniture. I work out in the yard. I've always done that.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have more opportunities being with my grandchildren, which they're up in age where they're not wanting to come spend the night with the grandparents now. However, they do some.
Yeah.
It gave me more opportunity to do things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And what role did faith play? I noticed, you've mentioned church and your church family and your faith. How big of an impact?
That was the impact. I mean, I told a friend of mine that lives in Wilmington, when he found out that I was cancer free, and he said, "You really know that God's got something planned. There's a reason for this."
Mm-hmm. And she's always had faith. She had faith when I met her. She's had faith growing up, and I think it strengthened it for sure. But
Definitely.
yeah.
I know that a lot of times people say there's a purpose in all of this. You've got more to do. What is that? What is your mission now going forward in your life? What would you say your main purpose now and your mission is?
It did make me, especially while I was down, because, like I said, spent a lot of time in this house during my recovery. And I think that it made me think more about other people and what they were going through. And I started when I did get to where I could get out, drive, I did a lot of visiting. I tried to, especially the widows, and send cards out. And I've had friends that have lost children, and you really realize what other people are going through. I think
Being more open to,
Right.
more in tune to other people and what's going on with them, and maybe a level of deeper understanding in a way.
Right.
Mm-hmm. She sends a lot of cards out to a lot of sick people and just carrying cards. And my uncle, for example, he's 95. He's going through some health issues, but she'll send him a card and she'll write a Bible scripture on the back. He said, well, that's great. He loves that. And he says, you never know what mailman or mail lady or mail person would see that and be inspired. Maybe that's all they ever see from a scripture. So,
And
yeah.
the elderly ones that you send, they're the ones that will always call you and thank you. Every time you send them a card, they'll call you and thank you for that card.
And people appreciate that when they're down and out and need some.
Yeah, I know I did.
Mm-hmm.
I still have in my closet a trash bag. It's a 13-gallon trash bag, and it's like piled behind. I saved every card that I was sent.
That connection means so much when people reach out, and now it's almost as if through your cards and your understanding
Yes.
of what other people are going through, you're now giving that back and reaching out to, because you understand, I'm sure now at this point, how important it is to someone when they're going through something difficult to have someone reach out to them.
Well, because of my faith, I feel like that prayer, it just the cards from people telling me that they were praying for me, the calls I got.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, feeling like you're supported, and you feel like that strengthens you in a way almost. It's like there's some sort of like an energy or a strength that it gives you when people tell you, I'm praying for you, I'm thinking about you.
I do.
Yes. Yes. For someone who may be fighting a battle like this, what advice would you give to somebody who's really in the throes of it right now?
Keep doing the things that you can to help yourself, such as your diet, prayer,
And there's hope.
family. There's hope. I had friends send me books, and I will say that be careful about the books that you send to people, because some of them were they were just basically telling you how to die.
Hmm.
Well, I'm trying to live.
Yeah.
And I know I had a cousin send me a book, and of course I read my Bible. I read the scriptures and prayed a lot. But he sent me a book by a lady named Vicki Gerard, and it's called There's No Place Like Hope. Very good book. Really simple, easy read. And so when I hear someone's been diagnosed, I always try to get that book off of Amazon and give it to them.
I'm going to put that in the show notes for people when you hear this podcast episode. You'll be able to go to the show notes, and we will link that in Amazon so that people can find that book.
There's no place like hope.
There's no place like hope. We will definitely link that in the show notes so that people will be able to find that book. Tara, what are your hopes for the future now, both personally and in terms of advocacy?
We've talked about doing some of the pancreatic walks, and probably when Neil retires, we'll be able to do a little bit more.
Yeah. And
He is busy. We know
He
he
is
a busy guy.
busy, very busy.
Yeah. It's all fun, though.
Yes.
I just try to reach out locally to people that I know.
On a personal level,
Yes.
within your community,
Right.
which I think is so impactful because people know your story.
Yeah, and the story I sent you from Duke Hospital, that one was a published event at Duke, and her oncologist shares that a lot as well to her
Yes.
upcoming patients.
Yes, you shared an article with me from Duke University
Mhm.
where they had featured Tara and Tara's story.
Yeah.
Well, I will also link that in the show notes so people can take a look at that as well,
Mhm.
and find inspiration and hope from that. I mean, Tara, you're 9 years out. I feel like this is almost like your 9-year anniversary, and you're here
Yeah.
on the podcast with me. So that is just such an honor. Hopefully, somebody who's listening out there is going to be able to find some hope in that, because just like Neil said, hope, there's hope.
Yep.
And maybe where you think there isn't any, you need to hear stories like this. You need to know somebody has kicked this, somebody has survived this.
Right.
And I think the more that can get out there and be evidence to show that it is doable, it doesn't necessarily have to mean the end. It hasn't been the end for you. 9 years out, you are the picture of just vibrance and beauty and vitality and life. And I'm so thankful for that. I'm so happy that you were here. I usually end the podcast episode with a little segment I like to call Cut It or Keep It. Cut It or Keep It is kind of a take on what I do as a hairstylist in the salon every day when I go to cut the hair. Do we cut it off? Is it too damaged? Do we cut it off, or do we keep it and treat it? So this is Cut It or Keep It. Just a couple topics here I wanted to ask you about. If you would cut them or keep them, is it a yes or a no for you? So cut it or keep it. We didn't talk about this, but how do you feel about alternative medicine besides mainstream? Cut it or keep it, alternative medicine.
Keep it.
We were talking about prayer. We were talking about food and nutrition.
Yeah. Well, I had a friend who she's maybe 30-year survivor of a brain cancer. And
Wow.
she also went to Duke, and she told me, she said, well, if you can't eat, I can think of something that, I'm not telling you have to smoke it, but you can inhale it. And but I've got something. And she said, I would not be alive if, because they didn't, when she had her cancer, they didn't have all the medications and stuff they have now.
Yeah.
or nausea and things like that. Is
Yeah.
that more or less what you're talking about?
Well, there's so many different ways. Them,
Well,
yes.
I was very
Sure.
I was very my diet. They started telling me, well, the nutritionist at Duke, you need to eat this, this, and this, and this, and I said, that's how I eat already. I was not. I was very. But now my Dr. Matu said that was probably one of the things that helped me out was that I was so health conscious with my body.
Mm-hmm.
That helped me fight it, that I did take care of my body like that. I walked.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Yeah, it is. And she never smoked. And I mean, she took care of herself. So,
Yeah.
but I agree. The alternative, and I would link prayer and faith with alternative. I certainly would. Because
Yes.
I don't think just, putting drugs in her and the surgery, I think there's more to it. There had to be more to it.
Yeah, I think, yes. I mean, I believe too that there's room for all of the treatments. You obviously you have to have the medications, but I would think that the medications could only be enhanced by other things. And I guess it's very personal. You have to see what works for you, what you can find, what combinations of foods or, herbs or other substances or meditation, things like acupuncture, things like movement.
They were concerned about when I was doing the chemo about these mouth ulcers that people were getting. And they said, what are you doing? You've never had any. And I told them about a toothpaste. I can't think of the name of it. It's sold at Trader Joe's and that I was using. And they wanted to know at Duke what it was so they could tell other patients to use this toothpaste.
Yeah.
It was made
well, now you've got us thinking. We want to know what this toothpaste
right?
Yes. Yeah.
It was made with fennel seed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The toothpaste.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's sold at Trader Joe's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's good to know. I think that's a good tip.
They're asking me, Duke, what are you doing? Why are you not getting the mouth ulcers that other people are getting?
Mm-hmm.
It's just that Trader Joe's toothpaste. I don't know.
The fennel seed.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Hey, that's good. That's a good tip. I like that. We've only got 3. Next one up, universal health care. Now, I know that cancer treatments and different illnesses that people get can be so overwhelmingly expensive. If you don't have insurance, many of us are self-employed. There are people out there that, for whatever reason, cannot afford health insurance. What do you think about universal health care?
I'll let Neil take that one.
No, it's certainly a good idea. And in fact, I work with some Canadians who have the universal health care in Canada. However, if there's something like this treatment they need, they might be put on a waiting list and not get to go when they need to, right? In a timely manner. But it is important for everyone to have health care. It certainly is. Yeah. It certainly is. And we're blessed to have it, through work.
Yes.
That's one thing keeping me employed right now until I reach 65 is the health care is so expensive. And, you can pay a lot of money and not have the good coverage as well.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't take that for granted. We don't take it for granted. You're exactly.
Yes. And the last one, personalized medicine, and just meaning, unique approaches to each individual. It's expensive, a lot of times not covered by insurance. So cut it or keep it, personalized medicine for everyone, meaning maybe the insurance companies should be forced to pay for some of this more personalized medicine. Would you cut it or keep it?
I would keep that one as well.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would too.
I would, because I don't think it's a one size fits all with health care. I would definitely keep it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I agree. Those are the only 3 cut it or keep it's I had for today. And that leads us to the conclusion of the episode. Tara, Neal, is there anything in parting that you would want to let people know, just as a word of encouragement or something that you think is important?
Well, if someone's diagnosed and there's still not a very good treatment plan for it, and there's not a very good early diagnosis plan for pancreatic cancer or a program, and when they hear there's no hope, and if you do everything right, you might live 12 to 18 months. Here's a living example of don't take that with it can be right, but you can also.
he's not God. He's the doctor.
Yeah, that's right.
He's not
He's quoting you
a
statistics.
statistic.
Yes, and he has to, or he or she has to. Uh, I don't want anyone lying to me, myself either, if something is drastically wrong. But then, work through it. Work through it and say, hey, we'll give it a good fight and see how it works out. And it did.
It did. It worked out. And I mean, you are 9 years out and you have survived something that I think many people think is just the end. And it doesn't have to be. Hopefully, people who listen to this will see Tara and Neal as an example of what can be and what's possible.
Right.
And so I'm just, again, so happy you were here. Tara, I am so happy to see you. Neal, I'm happy to see you too. Tara, I'm happy to see you.
It was nice meeting you.
It was nice meeting you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on, you guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Lessons from Your Hairstylist. I hope you found inspiration and actionable insights to embrace your unique beauty and elevate your life. Remember, it's all about taking small steps towards a happier, healthier you. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might benefit from it. Together, let's continue unlocking the secrets to living beautifully fulfilled. Until our next appointment, keep your thoughts on your visions, your self-talk kind, and remember to keep your heart open so you don't miss any opportunities waiting for you out there. I'll see you on the next one.